There is only one pure, unqualified divine reality. It's non-dual. There's no parts within it. In this practice, we know that divine reality as our own reality. And this means that there's no division between I and God. There's no division between who you know yourself to be and the absolute pure being, existence. Eternal, unlimited, unqualified. I'm going to talk a little bit about the way people view themselves and view the divine. And it's not so much for you to remember the points, but to examine your own experience. This isn't college. This is enlightenment. So you don't need to know anything with your mind here, but you can use your mind as a tool. And you need to go all the way to unqualified non-duality. If you're serious about your own knowledge of who you really are, don't stop at some kind of a partial realization. So let's go back to someone who has a very dualistic view of the world and themselves, and thus of God. Your idea of God is always going to depend on your idea of yourself. Your knowledge of the divine will always depend on who you think you are. So, usually people start out with an understanding of themselves as a fleshy something in a world, and God is a part. They have an idea of God, but that God has many human characteristics because it corresponds to their idea of themselves, which is solid, physical, has many qualities. And so this is a dualistic worldview and self-view and God view. God is a part, and usually in these kind of religions, there's no real inspection about yourself and your place in the world. You just kind of do what everybody tells you, and you try to do the right thing out of fear, perhaps, or you just follow the letter of the law, and it's a childish view with a parent God. As a human being matures and develops, it starts looking deeper than just following what's been given to them, perhaps they will deeply question and study and start to understand that things are actually interconnected. They start using their mind to try to find out more about what this reality is. And we'd call this a qualified duality, where they're giving more spirit, so to speak, to this dualistic point of view. They start to consider themselves interconnected with life. You can really see that if you even look directly at the physical reality. But they're considering themselves as a small thing still, and God as a big thing. So maybe they've gotten to the point of thinking that they're a small part within a bigger part. But they're still separate. And at this point, there's really no real experience. There's deep thinking, but there's not really spiritual depth or experience of knowing yourself. This is less suffering than pure duality, but it's not the freedom. You're still separate, God is still a part. And then in qualified non-duality, you start to have some real spiritual experience. And this is really the one I want to talk about, because most practitioners high practitioners make their way to the qualified non-duality because they start to look inside themselves for what's true. They start to have real spiritual experience. They start to question their belief system. They may start to meditate or enter contemplative religion. They start to have deep spiritual experiences. They experience the divine. They may even feel the divine as the substrate of all this physical reality. They may have merger with that divine. They may surrender themselves into that divine reality. And this is all extremely excellent. And they are much, much freer than they ever were. And this becomes the focus of their life and their enjoyment. You may enter into samadhi states, deep spiritual experiences, and real enjoyment of the divine. You may have moments of total disillusion, where there is only divine, pure being, nothing else going on. But the point I want to make here is you need to go all the way to total non-duality. You don't want to end up with a coming and a going in and out of these deep experiences. It all depends, again, on who you take yourself to be. Even if you have majorly deep experiences, if you still come back to thinking you're a human being, and that's who you really are, and every once in a while you're having this divine experience, it's still a far cry from the truth. And you need to inspect yourself and who you're taking yourself to be. I would say that most spiritual practitioners get to some of these blissful states, and that's good enough for them. It's way better than your normal person who's stuck in some kind of a duality. And so they start to relax and just have a qualified and still dual existence. If you're still living in a kind of qualified duality, qualified non-duality, you're going to take the world to be the sign of your spiritual practice. You're going to take what you do in the physical world to be a sign of your awakening. And this is totally off the mark. You may become a more benign, loving, sattvic person. That's all very good, but that's nothing to do with enlightenment. Nothing. Who are you taking yourself to be? As long as you still take your stance as a somebody somewhere in some world, you can be freer and you can enjoy the divine as yourself. There's no need for even an iota of separation or identity. In pure non-duality, there is no person to experience a world. There's just pure being. There's no idea of separation. There's no idea of an object. There's no idea at all. It's unqualified. There's no birth, there's no death, there's no form. Okay? I'm describing it with no's, what it's not, but this is the clue to what it is. What it is, you're going to have to find out for yourself. Who I is, who I am. But I'm just making a call to use as much effort as it takes for as long as it takes. And don't settle for any kind of a form for yourself. Maybe it may be an elated highly spiritual form, but it's not good enough. Not free enough. Not blissful enough. If there is a form to you, you have no form. So don't take being a good person in a world as your final realization. Keep with the inquiry. Until every last iota of self is dissolved. So don't let your non-duality have dual in it. Don't qualify it to be some kind of an energy or some kind of a particularity of consciousness. It's not difficult because it is who you are. Just don't mix up a form with yourself. Don't mix up an illusion with the real. Everything perceived with senses is illusion. Every mind form is illusion. It's passing, undependable, fleeting. That's not what you are, and it's not where your reality lies. So let your reality and your identity be the same. Don't get stuck in an illusory world of form. Don't let that be your reality. Don't take anything to be your identity. Because in truth, you're always existent. And all these forms have no substance to them at all.